Sharron.
Hello, Adam.
Welcome to the Juno Advisory Podcast.
Welcome back, we should say.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Yeah, episode 6.
Whoa, never thought we'd get here.
We're halfway through the first series. Did you know that there was a first series?
Not really, no.
Yeah, right.
But I'll read that in the document that I didn't read last time.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to dive into why strategy fails and how to fix it.
Interesting. Very interesting. But before we start, just wanted to had a couple of really interesting conversations of late about, you know, I suppose really what it is, it's Juno, the way we do it and how we have fun doing hard work, but also manage to enjoy ourselves at the same time. And I suppose, you know, we had a really, I think we had a really great golf day last week or the week before.
Inaugural
golf day, yes.
Juno Golf Day.
Yes, which I was very late for, which is unimpressive in its own right. But, you know, really there's this kind of scenario where we go, work's really hard, right? And fundamentally, it's okay to do the hard work and also to enjoy the experience with our clients. And I suppose the Juno Golf Day really sort of exemplified what that is, and bringing a whole bunch of our clients and a whole bunch of their connections and a whole bunch of people together in order to take some time to enjoy it, right? You know, we all work hard, and it's a hard thing that we all do. But the reality is we want to be able to enjoy that. And you know, I'd love to hear your take on it. But fundamentally, you know, we had nearly 30 people there. You know, me being terrible at golf, probably the worst actually, and our team, you know, I would say not great. We came last, but really, taking the time to enjoy and taking the time to have fun is a huge part of our Juno sort of value set. And when we talk with our clients and stuff like that, it's important to go, it's okay. Yeah. It doesn't have to all be hard work. It can be fun.
And I think, like, to your point, the Juno model is built on relationships and connections.
Correct.
And you don't just get those in an office or going through the traditional model that we do in terms of that 2-hour weekly time slot. It is also about being out on a golf course and having the conversations that we had in that day, which were incredible. Yep. So yes, it's fun. Yes, it's an awesome way to spend a day, but in fact, we're still working.
Yeah.
So I think that for us, we've been very purposeful about going, we want that to be part of what we do because that's what we love, but also that's actually what's really important for Juno.
Correct.
Is building great relationships with great people. Yep. And that's what that day was all about as well.
And it's so funny because when we started Juno, my wife was like, oh, you're just going out for lunches and you're just doing this and you're just doing that. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, maybe there was a little bit of fun there. But, you know, she really understands it, right? It's part of the job, and it's certainly part of, you know, our role as owners of the business. But you know, that creating those relationships and cementing those relationships. And, you know, there's always, you know, and maybe me less so because it's my personality, but, you know, there's the business side and then the personal side. And we love to understand the personal side because ironically that actually helps us to drive the business side if we know the person. And, you know, and it was a great day. I think there was a lot of connections made there anyway between them. But yeah, I think it just reminded me to go, it's tough enough, right? And we at Juno focus on delivering that fun element into it. And it was just a great day, and I'm sure we're going to do another one very, very soon.
And I think if anyone's seen my LinkedIn post this week, they'll see the other side, like a day in the life.
The hard work.
Yeah, of an advisor that, you know, onboards an incredibly great client, you know, rushing across the city to have this session with a long-term awesome client, working on some really great stuff with him. Then it's across the city again to a networking event to again meet new people, establish relationships, learn something new.
Yep.
You know, that's eating lunch in the car, you know, for the 15 minutes that you've got in between.
Egg sandwich and Diet Coke.
So I think that there is that other side as well.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I guess, for us it was purposeful.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to jump into today, which is something that comes up a lot for us, and that's businesses that are really struggling to get a strategy to stick. So today we're going to talk all about why strategy fails, and then also talk to a little bit more about how do we fix that and what we do in businesses to actually bring to life something that we feel is incredibly important in terms of setting a business up for success and getting it on the right path for growth.
And I mean, it's we go into countless businesses, whether they're our clients or not, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, we had a strat day, and we had someone come out and do." I'm like, "Oh yeah, where is that?" It's looking for it. It's either in the bin or in the drawer that never gets opened, and it's. I mean, typical, not to be negative, but it's just typical. There's a lot of money and time and effort spent to do something, and then nothing happens with it, and that's challenging, and challenging for a business owner as well. Because it's like, well, why do I need to focus on it? It didn't really work last time. I'm not really going to, put the time and effort into it because it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think when we look at it and go, why does strategy fail? And I think that we start with things like it's not the piece of work that fails. And I'll get to an example of that a bit later, but there are plenty of reasons post that as to why it fails. One of the biggest ones we see is that businesses go out and they get a strategic deck sort of done for them. It's too complicated and it's too lengthy. And I guess I'll use the example of a client that I worked with many years ago. He'd done that work with someone else 2 years before I came in, and he happened to mention the work that he'd done. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, what work did you do? So again, he got the drawer and he opened it up and he actually literally pulled out this 20-page strat deck. And I'm like, wow. And I actually read through it and I thought,
pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I also read that strat deck and it was pretty good.
Yeah. And it had some really interesting elements to it that could really resonate with the owner and where he was heading. But of course, it was sitting in his drawer because it was 20 pages long and probably half of it was too complicated for a business of his size. But there was some really good parts to it, and we'll get down the track of the episode. We'll talk a little bit about how we bring that to life. But when we sort of talk about other reasons why strategy fails, too complicated, too lengthy. We also look at strat decks that are prepared with unrealistic goals. Someone comes into a business, they don't really understand the business, and then they have these they say incredible goals, and when we look at it, we go, it's just not realistic, and then no one buys in.
I think that, it's inevitably a combination of things why that they don't work. So, and I suppose us going through all the elements, but or people, and you're a massive stickler for this as well. Getting an outcome, it's so easy in these strat days to, just sort of have a couple of high fives and feel really great, and everyone, it's that. Woo-woo is the terrible word to use, but it's a great experience, and it's quite bonding for people to do it together. But if you think about it, and this is where my mind goes, you've got you might have 20 people not working for a whole day. That's a massive cost for a business to have some high fives and have no deliverables out of the strat day. And strat days can be fun, but it's also there to deliver an outcome, and the outcomes, pushing a strat day, having done countless numbers of them in the past, pushing a strat day to an outcome to actually get deliverables from it, so you can take away and use those deliverables to implement the change. It's not easy, and having seen some people, you do an incredible one, but having seen people do a really good job and then having seen people do a really bad job, it's light and day. And some of the issues is that there's lots of people out there delivering strat days that don't do a great job, and then the businesses go, well, I don't really need to do one. Didn't really work. And it's like, well, no, you need to do one. You need to do a good one though, that has objectives and outcomes at the end that you drive towards.
Yeah, and I think, I 100% agree. And I think another reason why they fail is because people aren't willing to actually change. A strategy is around looking forward and thinking about what we're going to achieve.
Yep.
And if you don't have people in your business that are lateral in thought around, am I prepared to do what it takes to get where that strategy is telling us that we need to go, that becomes really challenging as well. And we've certainly found that there are people in businesses that really just want to stay in the chair that they're in and they don't really want to change. And typically when you're going through a strategy planning piece, you're actually wanting to push change to get a different outcome.
Correct.
And I think another reason why they fail is because of that. It's because people aren't actually willing to do the hard yards to change to get a different outcome.
I mean, and having this conversation on the golf day, it was funny because there's another element to that people forget, and it's generally with entrepreneurial business owners that fundamentally make change, don't implement it properly, and then it doesn't work. And what happens is that the people below them see, oh, this is just another thing that they're not going to do properly, and that's a really challenging mindset. Maybe you wouldn't call it culture, but mindset shift that you have to engage and get those people on the journey, because it's all well and good for the business owner to want to change. But the people who are going to be doing the changing are all the people that sit under that. And so, and I'm sure you've had multiple occurrences where, that owner, doesn't, wants to change, is trying to do the right thing, but just doesn't deliver it well enough for it to work in the business. And it just becomes no one really puts effort into it. No one really cares because everyone has the assumption that it's going to fail again.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really tough one.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, what happens is, and I find this really interesting, that so much work and effort is put into these days. And then they sort of forget. It's not that they don't want to actually look at it again. They sort of forget. And I mean, I'm a real stickler for going back and going, this is what we said we were going to do and this is how we were going to do it. But I realise that a lot of people don't do that. And so even the reminder and the accountability framework around, hey, listen, remember, this is what we set out. Let's come back to that and let's make sure that we're heading in that direction rather than creating almost a new strategy that has nothing to do with what we spoke about only just a month ago. So again, it's the accountability piece that goes, this is what we set out to do. Let's make sure we keep circling back to it. And I think that that's, again, why a lot fail is because there's not the discipline. And we often talk about discipline and consistency. And yes, it might sound boring, but that's actually what it takes to bring something like that to life. And when you don't do that, that's when you're in a position where it's failing and you're not getting what you want out of it.
So I agree, and I suppose that the underlying thing I should say is who owns that? Like it's all high fives and the Strat day and we get outcomes, but then you go, well, who actually owns the delivery of those outcomes? And inevitably, the business owner would always put their hand up and say, "Oh yeah, I do." But they're probably not the right person to own that, because really, when we look at it, the business owner should be exiting out operationally from the day to day, and you should really have a structure that's under you to be able to deliver on that. Now, that's a delivery of day to day actions, right? So you would put that in somebody or a group of people to do that, and lack of ownership and somewhat lack of resource. The second part to that is it's all well and good to give it to John, but John needs time to be able to actually deliver some of that. So if John's full and you're piling more work onto John, then he's never going to do it, or he's never going to do it properly. So, making somebody the ownership part of it and giving them the resource, aka time, to be able to deliver on that. I mean, that's when you sort of start to go, well, what are we doing? Why are we spending all this money if we're not going to do it properly? And Sharron, we were talking about this before, is if you're going to do something, do it properly or don't do it, right? There's no point kind of half doing it, because then you lose both sides.
Yeah.
You don't get the result that you want and you've wasted a whole bunch of time and money trying to do it. Do it properly or don't do it.
Yeah. And I think on that, I look back on my career and sat in many Strat days. I've run many Strat days, and that whole resource part is really critical, Because if you get out and there's a whole lot of work that needs to get done and you're not prepared to back that in with the allocation of some sort of resource or whatever that looks like, yeah, you're almost setting yourself up to fail before even starting.
Correct.
And then the disengagement that happens as a result of that from staff is huge. So you're just going around and around in circles.
Yep. And then you do another strat day.
Yeah. Hope that you fixed it. So I think we've focused on all the reasons why a strat day fails.
What's a good strat day?
How do we fix it? And I mean, that's what we spend a lot of our time doing is either coming in, having a look at the deck that's been done 2 years ago and sort of bringing some of it to life. So how do we fix it?
Easy. Not really.
It's never easy.
It's certainly never. I think that there's, if we look at it, there's a couple of components, right? What we would always say simplicity, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Number one, I mean, 20 pages is just a bizarre thing in today's day and age. I mean, someone's going to take that 20 pages, put it into ChatGPT and say, what are the 3 things that I want, right? But simplicity and simplicity of purpose as well.
Yeah.
We are here to do 3 things, right? There's a real kind of scenario. I think, though, when we would do a strat day, and we sort of offer that as a bit of a service, right, which is to come in and do a strat day and to not do all the things that we just discussed. But the pre-planning, the day and the post, that combination of doing it that way, not just having a strat day, but having a very allocated and specific time before.
Yeah, the discovery session.
Yeah. The specificness of a strat day, so outcome driven, these are the things that we're going to deliver or get from this day. And then the post sort of meeting,
Playback.
The playback is really around making sure that the sections are put in place and to deliver that strategy. And it's like a checkpoint. When you start thinking about it's not a strat day, right? It's like a combination of a whole bunch of things put together to deliver an outcome. That's where you start, or that's where we get great success. And part of that is the process. Part of that is the simplicity. Part of that is making sure that there's a linkage to the overarching business strategy. And that doesn't have to be complicated. And sometimes these strat days are to create that strategy. But there's a view to go in and go, you're trying to do something, you're trying to achieve something that's overarching. And then the strat day comes in and pulls it all together to then create that, what we would always call that A to F. And when you do all those things collectively together, you actually end up with an incredible result. You end up with something that is usable, that's tangible, and that actually adds value to your business and doesn't sit in the drawer collecting dust. It's like it's a tool that the business can then go back to and anchor the growth on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I always talk about it as being like a living, breathing part of the business. Mm-hmm. And I think that it really needs to be considered like that.
Yeah.
To be able to genuinely bring it to life. I think once you've done that, and we're talking about how we fix that, mm-hmm. we go, okay, it's all good and well to say, yeah, it's a living, breathing thing. We're going to bring it to life. 100% agree that simplicity means people buy in. It's easy to understand. I think also that there has to be the accountability piece, and I sort of mentioned this before. If we don't hold ourselves and a business accountable to circling back and going, let's have a look at what we said we were going to do, rather than going off on a direction that's got nothing to do with what we spoke about in this strategy day, I think that's what enables a strategy to be successful, is ensuring that there is that accountability in order to embed. And without that, again, it ends up in the drawer and no one looks at it again. But that takes someone in a business that steps up and becomes the champion, and to your point before, who owns it. And I did a recent session with a current client, and it was really driven around the next 12 months. What does that look like? but also who was going to own the outcome. So it was really clear about, as a result of today, the outcomes that we've got are A, B, and C, but they are owned by
Yep.
D, E, and F.
I mean, again, I haven't done one for a while, but the last one I did was really around it. It was a business that was about to go through huge, exceptional growth because they were going to bring on a major client, which was massively complicated. And the Strat Day was, you can use the Strat Day for a lot of different things. This was more a strategic, a time to take away from the business to understand, we could call it a project, right? This thing that was going to happen. How are we going to approach it, and what does that mean for the business, and how are we going to maintain it? And that was that's probably a more unusual one. It was a big business, but once you sort of sit down and you start unpacking, what does 100% growth look like over 3 months? There's complication there, right? Yeah. And if we didn't have that, I think that would have been complicated. But the outcome was, how are we going to break this into stages? We had to deliver the growth in 3 months. So that was one of the issues, right? We were under a time constraint. We had the money to extend and bring on resource and stuff like that. But, you go, well, what does that look like? Do we bring a subcontractor model in to support the growth? How is that going to put pressure on other parts of the business, the IT, the finance, and all of a sudden, as you start to unpack those kind of things, we get the outcomes and make the decisions. So what we actually came away with was a playbook.
Yeah.
These are the things we're going to do. This is the timing. These are the people that are going to be responsible. And this is the outcome that we expect. And surprise, surprise, we hit pretty close to the outcome that we were going to expect, give or take. Yeah. So I suppose, I always go, or when people talk to us, they go, why would I do it? You do it because what you want, and it sort of goes back to Juno realistically of what we do, is it gives you a plan and it allows you to execute on a plan that is pre-designed. And that's a really, really smart and good way to run a business, right? Because you're not just entrepreneurially running ahead and winning and losing and whatever. It's like, well, hang on a minute, this is what we're going to do. This is who's responsible for it. And this is the outcome that we're seeking and going to deliver on. So it allows us to then culturally come back, bring everyone together because they can see, well, okay, I understand now. This is how it's going to work. And this is what my involvement is. Yeah. And when you start to do that, you get all these other added benefits. Surprise, surprise, people come together. Well, of course they do, right? Because now they're driving towards or driving in the same direction. So, the question that or why would I invest the money? Because it's not inexpensive doing these days. And, again, you go back and you say, well, what are you trying to achieve? And they go, oh, well, I'm trying to double in 5 years. It's not really, that's a one aspect of success or achievement. But how are you going to do that? You need to take time to sit and to do that. And, we would always say, the Strat Day that we offer is sort of this sort of 3-step, the pre, the day, the post. And we feel that that's the best way, and we feel that gets the best outcome for our clients, whether they be a current client or whether they are a client that's just looking for some assistance to drive a Strat Day for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that along with that, it's the buy-in that you need to get from the team.
Yep.
And it's a great opportunity to bring the team along for the ride as you're building out that Strat session, or whether it's the discovery session or the Strat Day itself and then the playback. If you've got your whole team or your whole leadership team part of that, then you're already on the road and the path to going, I'm actually going to get buy-in, I'm going to bring this to life, because you've got people that have been part of the process, believing in what you've actually sort of come out the day with and really wanting to drive that forward. And I think that that's a really important piece as well, that it's not just I'm the owner and this is what we're going to do. It's a more collaborative piece around, we as a team are going to do this together. Because if you can't get those people buying into it, really hard to execute. So I think the way that we do it, which is this 3-step, we call it the strategy pathway. Yeah, good.
I like that. That's a good
name. Yeah. We talked to that discovery, which is really unpacking what does the business want to get out of it.
Yeah.
that moves into a whole day workshop, which we encourage clients to bring in that leadership team. And then it's the playback to go, this is what we took out of that. This is what we heard. This is what we feel are your priorities going forward. And I guess when we talk about the traditional Juno model, it's not just about the strategy. It's actually the hard part that comes after that, and that's the implementation. And we often talk about that's our superpower, is that we go, Strat on a page is great. It gives you the plan. It gives you the basis. And then it's about making sure that we implement and execute on the plan.
So when or what type of businesses would require a Strat day?
I mean, I would say every.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot about planning.
Yeah.
The more time you spend at the start planning, the more likely you are to get the outcome that you're looking for. Now, I mean, we work with a lot of owners that fly by the seat of their pants, and that works at times too. But we would go, it would be less chaotic to do it in a more planned way. But it has to be businesses that are prepared to put in the effort, because, as we said, the reason why strategies fail is because they're not then embedded into a business. So, yes, we love this 3-step strategy, and we've successfully been rolling this out, but it does come with hard work afterward and the discipline to implement. So it's businesses that are prepared and looking to set the plan in play and then wanting to put the effort in to bring it to life and actually get the outcomes that they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Everyone should have a strategy. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? It can be very simplistic.
Yeah.
We also have we've got a couple of clients, and I suppose they have a significant challenge, like, mum and dad own the business, daughter and son want to take it over. That doesn't happen successfully if you just kind of rolling along, right? The same thing is, business, looking to exit. Well, what does that mean? Exit what? I mean, we had a great conversation the other week with a lady that was fundamentally just sort of stuck. Business is doing okay. Probably doesn't really need the business. Is financially secure. Really feels a responsibility to her staff members, and she's just like, well, what are you doing? She's like, I don't, maybe I'll sell to the staff. And you go, that's a prime example of you need a pathway, right? You need a
pathway.
Oh yeah, strategy pathway. You need to be able to deliver something so that you can start executing and your team can understand and see you start executing on something that is driven to an end piece, or we anchor it at the end. And, there's a whole bunch of reasons why. And I laugh and I go, and when I was, reading all this yesterday, I go, why would you not? That's the better question. It's not why would you or who should you. It's give me an example of who doesn't need a solid strategy. And I don't think many people can answer that.
No, and I think that, and we've seen this a lot in our clients, they get burnt by doing it once or twice, not getting any outcome. And so they then go, it's just a waste of time and a waste of money.
100%.
And I think that we battle against that somewhat, because we've been very successful bringing strategy to life that businesses have not seen.
Yep.
So they automatically go, yeah, we've heard it all before. But it's like, have you heard it with a group of people that roll the sleeves up, actually get in with your business and actually make it happen?
And implement.
And I think that's the difference, right?
For sure.
So I think when we sort of recap and we go, okay, what did we cover today? We go, strategy, it can be broken. Why does it fail? Covered off on why that happens. And we sort of say it fails in its execution, not necessarily in its design.
Yep,
As we've said, we've seen strategies that have got some really good content. So it's not necessarily what's in it, but it's really about how do we embed and execute on that. I think to your point at the start, Adam, you said you have to keep it simple. If it becomes too complicated, you lose interest. So keeping it simple, and for me, really, really focused around making it accountable. So simple and accountable. And then it's really embedding it into the team.
And I think that's the strategy itself is one part. It's the strategy and then the embedding of that strategy. They're two very different things, and I think people forget that. They think that it's easy to go, oh, we've done a strategy, so tick that box, right? Great. So, well, yeah, sure. Shouldn't be seen as a box ticking, but it should be more around we're really engaged in changing or being specific or articulating what we're trying to do as a business. And we feel a strategy or a strat day or whatever you want to call it will assist in creating the tool. Then we need to go away and work out how do we embed that. Yeah. And I suppose that's where sort of Juno really hits its own, which is where we do the strategy piece, the strategy pathway, and then we help the businesses embed that. And that's a real challenge for a lot of businesses because they don't have the capability to embed it properly internally, particularly fast-growing businesses, right? It's a hard skill to sort of find, and it would be more in a senior type of role. So, I mean, that's a lot of how our sort of clients use us is get us to do the strategy, even once a quarter is with one of our clients, and then we embed off the back of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, agree. So I suppose really happy with that. I think it's as we sort of talk about these things and as our clients and the experiences and the great things we see and the things that don't work as much, I think it really goes to show about what we always talk about is the simplicity sort of value comes across all our conversations. Business doesn't have to be overly complicated. In some instances, it has to be more complicated than not. But have a strategy, execute on that strategy, make sure it's implemented properly. Simple, stupid, right? So yeah, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that's it. Strategy, 3 steps.
I think, if the things like that, and we sort of haven't really talked about this in previous episodes, if things resonate with you and you want to kind of have a bit of a chat, just like reach out to us. I mean, there's enough of us. We're all over LinkedIn and stuff like that. So, and we're always happy to have a chat. Doesn't mean that we have to, have an engagement or anything like that, but we grow our sort of community that we have and our expertise, not just through our experiences with our client, but through the conversations that we have with a whole lot of other people. So yeah, we're more than happy to, have a coffee, have a mug, have a glass of champagne.
And I think we often say, and we say this all the time, that business is better when you don't do it alone.
Oh, for sure, right.
So it's our mantra a lot. So reach out, connect.
And some people feel like scared. I think that there's a really fun, it's like, oh, you're business advisors. Yeah, we are, but I'm also kind of a dad and also a hack at golf. And, there's a whole bunch of other things. And I think that that's part of what I love about Juno is this, I feel we're really relatable. We're like the people's advisors. The modern day advisors. And I think people feel that we won't have time or anything like that. And I think it's really important that's how we've grown Juno Advisory, and that's how we want to continue to grow with the we're happy to talk to anyone type scenario.
Yep.
Anyway, should we have a little high five?
A high five.
Done.